how's it going? So we're over here today at one of our projects, and we've been getting some questions on, what types of footings are there and how do you build them. So right here we have one of our footings. This footing is for the wall specifically. So our plan is calling out for a 24-inch wide footing by 12 inches deep. So as you can see here, we boxed out the footing with 2x12. So basically from the inside to inside of the wood is how we're getting our width. So make sure you measure first, and your plywood, or in this case 2x12s, are on the outside of that footing, and your inside measures the actual footing width. Secondly, your depth, so we're 12 inches down, and you can use the dirt to make up all of that difference. These are 2x12, so we have a little bit of play. And then the next thing is check the spec of the rebar on the plan. So you can see here, the plan was calling for number 6 rebar, which is 3/4 inch rebar in 3 rows, and then every approximately 36 inches we had a crossbar, which is tying everything together. And secondly, you can see here the vertical rebar. So our vertical rebar is being called out on the plan 45 inches on center. So you can see we have our spacing, and a very critical detail here is this bend. So you have to make sure you follow the exact length on the plan, and this rebar, which is tying into these two, is essentially holding the load, helping hold the load of all this dirt that's going to go back here and put all the pressure on this side of the wall. Remember, this is a staircase, so there's not a ton of support going across other than the steps and that rear wall. So these rebar are playing a huge role. And what the next step is going to happen right now, so that completes the footing. And then after we pour this, these bars will all be sticking out of the footing, top of the concrete's going to be here. And then we have to drop in horizontal rods every 45 inches on center vertically. So as we form our wall, we'll be putting the snap ties in, which they're going to lay this perpendicular to these bars. And then every 45 inches we'll lay another number 6 rebar in there and keep stacking our forms. All right, so that's a basic overview of how a footing is built for a wall assembly, concrete wall assembly. Next, we'll take you over to our pad footings, which are going to be holding our columns inside the basement. So let's go over that way, but first make sure you click and subscribe for more content. All right, so now we're over here inside the basement, and we're going to take a look at our footing pads, and these are our footings that are going to be supporting the columns. Basically, these footing pads right here are going to be the main base of support for the columns that are going to be supporting the first floor. So essentially what happens, we have our boxes framed out with 3/4 plywood, and this particular box is about 3'6" by 3'6". Just refer to your plan, find out what your size is going to be. They're about 1 foot 8 inches deep. And inside here you can see we have 3/4 inch rebar, number 6 rebar, running in different directions. So that's what's actually creating our cage. So that rebar is also what's giving the concrete its structural integrity, because there's going to be a ton of weight pushing down on the center of this form. So the next step is going to be pouring this with solid concrete to about this level right here, top of the plywood form, because that is essentially the bottom of our 4-inch slab. Then we're going to after we pour this concrete, we'll stick our threaded rod in, and that's going to be, those rods will be spaced the same way our base plate for the column is going to sit, so that later on, these rods will cure in the concrete. Then we'll bring our columns in, we'll set up the columns, bolt them down, and then the next step is going to be pouring our 4-inch slab, which is going to, everywhere you see dirt here is going to be our slab, and that slab's going to come right across here, and it's going to lock the base of the column in. So that's how this project is set up. If you were doing some type of footing in your own project, make sure you check with an architect or an engineer. Very important. These are critical points in your basement to carry on a lot of these point loads, and so it's something you don't want to play around with and guess on. So that is your basic footing.